So I know you're going through a lot, so we're not going to keep you here all night. Can we go through this? So, okay, let's see, 148 doorbell detected visitor. What does that mean?
So the doorbell has a camera on it when you get up to a certain proximity, and when you ring it, it detects a visitor.
Okay. People are already distracting me out here.
Oh.
So in fact, let's do this. So I work a lot of stuff like this in bank robberies, and when I talk to, a witness at a bank robbery, sometimes I find it best for them to just say, tell me what happened, get it all out, and then once you get it out, let's go over it, okay? So just get it all out as far as this. Tell me exactly what you remember, and I'll take notes about where we can go.
Okay. So this 1:48 a.m.
Let me switch chairs. Because when they come knocking, when they come knocking, I gotta use that key. Do you need more water?
No,
I brought you Gatorade.
Oh, thanks.
All right.
Alright, so 1:48 a.m., doorbell detects the visitor. So when we were over at the neighbor's house, the next day we were looking at his camera as well, and it didn't show anybody walking up to the driveway, which is kind of weird. That's one reason I put that on there, because it showed Nicole dropping her off, but nobody actually walking up to the house. It was kind of weird, but she was in the house.
Okay.
So,
and what time are we talking?
This is still 1:48.
Okay.
So, 2 a.m., Shanann gets in the bed with me. 4 a.m., that's when my alarm goes off for work, and I'm supposed to get dressed, brush my teeth, everything I do upstairs.
Okay.
4:15, that's when I get back, slide right into bed next to her, and start having a conversation with her about having the house up for sale, and talking about actually proceeding with the separation.
Okay.
And obviously it gets pretty emotional, like we're talking about, we felt the disconnection was there, like falling out of love, and trying to stay together, maybe just for the kids' sake, but we're realizing that doing like our homework, it's not, most of the time that's not gonna work.
Yeah.
And it gets pretty emotional because we have 2 beautiful kids and we have 1 on the way. So it's just a matter of it was very emotional, we were both crying, and at the end, we just said, she said she was gonna take the kids to her friend's house for the day, and she would be back. Okay. And I was like, okay, it's fine. And so I went downstairs, made my protein shake. It was 5 a.m., that's when I did that. Packed my lunchbox, had my oatmeal, chicken, filled my water jug up. 5:15, I went outside, backed my truck up, was loaded up. Had my book bag, my lunchbox, computer, water jug, my big clear container. I put big clear containers in my truck so it's easy just to pull out, pull in, just depending on what I'm going to use. My O-ring kit, I knew I was going to do some stuffing box rubbers that day, so I got some various open wrenches from my toolbox, and I know those will work better than the ones they would give me. Okay.
It's just past 5 a.m. in Frederick, Colorado. The sky is still dark, the streets silent, and a single porch light flickers across a quiet suburban neighborhood. But something doesn't feel right. A phone rings again and again inside a house that should be full of life. Laughter, little voices, the hum of a family morning. Yet now, nothing answers back. A friend worried and pacing outside dials 911. Her voice trembles as she says the words no one wants to say. My friend's pregnant. She's not answering calls. Her car's still here, but she's gone. Moments later, red and blue lights wash over the white walls of the Watts home. Officers step out, knocking gently on the door. No response. They try the handle, it's unlocked. Inside, everything looks normal. The TV sits dark. Pair of shoes by the stairs. Shanann Watts' handbag on the counter. Her phone buzzing with unanswered texts. Feels like walking into a paused life. Everything frozen mid-breath, except the family who should be there. As the search begins, no one knows that this ordinary house is about to become one of America's most haunting crime scenes. But before we dive into the horror that follows, let's step back. Let's meet the woman whose light burned so brightly that it made her disappearance impossible to ignore. Shanann Catherine Watts, a mother of 2 little girls, Bella and Celeste, and pregnant with a baby boy she and her husband planned to name Nico. She was energetic, hopeful, and relentless in her love for her family. She built a life she proudly shared online, showing a smiling husband, a beautiful home, and the laughter of 2 daughters who adored their dad. To everyone watching, she seemed to have everything: a love story, a family, a future. But behind those perfect photos, small cracks had begun to form. A late-night text left unread, an argument before a trip, a friend saying she felt something was off. The little things that don't mean much alone, until you look back and realize they were warnings. And at the center of it all, her husband, Chris Watts. Quiet, polite, a man who seemed almost too gentle. But sometimes the calmest waters hide the darkest depths. And before we go deeper into this story, if you're drawn to real-life mysteries that reveal the darkness behind ordinary faces, make sure to subscribe to True Crime Log, because every week, we uncover the stories most people wish they could forget. As the camera fades out, picture this: an empty baby room, untouched, 2 little backpacks by the door, waiting for a ride to preschool that will never come. And somewhere in that silence, a husband who knows exactly where his family is, but isn't saying a word. The calm is over. The darkness is just beginning. The next morning, the search for Shanann and the girls intensifies. Neighbors gather on their porches, watching as police go in and out of the Watts home. A drone circles overhead. And there, in the driveway, stands Chris Watts, quiet, composed, and strangely calm. He tells the officers a story, that he and Shanann had an emotional conversation early that morning, that she was upset, that maybe she took the kids and left. But something doesn't add up. Her car is still there. Her phone, her medication, everything a mother would need left behind. Detectives notice the way Chris moves, hands folded tightly, eyes darting just a little too often. He's polite, cooperative, almost rehearsed, but there's something about his calm that feels wrong. Later that day, standing in front of the cameras, Chris pleads for his family's return. His voice is steady, his words careful. Shanann and Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. This house isn't the same without you. For a brief moment, the world believes him. A husband, heartbroken. Family missing. A mystery that might still end in hope. But the cracks in his story start showing fast. Investigators search the home and find no sign of forced entry, no signs of struggle. Yet they do find something else: the faint scent of cleaning chemicals and a sheet missing from the master bedroom. The next clue comes from technology: Shanann's phone records, GPS data, security footage from a neighbor's camera. On one clip, just before dawn, Chris is seen backing his truck into the garage. For several minutes, he moves in and out of frame, carrying something heavy. What was he moving? Why before sunrise? And why won't he look his neighbor in the eye when they watch the footage together? That neighbor later tells police, he's not acting right. He's not like he was before. And with that, the investigation shifts, from searching for Shanann to watching Chris. If you've made it this far into the story, you already know how deep this darkness runs. Hit like if you want YouTube to keep recommending real cases like this, the ones that don't just shock you, but make you think about what trust and betrayal really mean. As the hours pass, detectives bring Chris in for questioning. He insists he's innocent. He even agrees to take a polygraph test, confident that it'll prove he's telling the truth. But the result? He fails. Completely. And in that small, cold interrogation room, the carefully built lie begins to fall apart. When investigators press harder, Chris breaks. His voice trembles as he offers a story no one expects. One last desperate attempt to twist the truth before it collapses completely. He says Shanann killed their daughters, and that he killed her in rage. But investigators already know that isn't what happened. They've seen the evidence. They know where he drove that morning. And soon, they'll find what he tried to hide. The calm is gone. The mask is cracking. And in the next chapter, the full horror of what Chris Watts did will finally come to light. The room is silent. Chris Watts sits across from investigators, staring at his hands. For hours, he's insisted he doesn't know where Shanann, Bella, and Celeste are. But now, The walls are closing in. One detective leans forward and whispers, "Chris, it's time to tell the truth." And something in him finally breaks. He takes a deep breath. His eyes well up. Then, in a voice that barely sounds human, he admits it. He tells them he killed Shanann. He tells them what really happened that morning, the argument, the rage, the silence that followed. But the truth is darker than anyone could have imagined. After strangling Shanann and in their bedroom, he wrapped her in a sheet. When his daughters woke up, he told them their mother was sick. He drove all three of them, his wife's lifeless body and his two little girls, to a remote oil worksite. And there, in a moment of chilling calm, he did the unthinkable. He smothered them, one after the other, and hid their bodies in oil tanks, burying Shanann and nearby. Even the investigators, hardened by years of horror, sat in stunned silence. They had heard confessions before, but not like this. Not from a man who smiled for cameras just hours earlier, asking the world to help him find the very people he had already murdered. Stories like this remind us that evil doesn't always wear a mask. If you want to hear more cases that expose what happens behind closed doors, subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next story we uncover here on True Crime Log. When authorities searched the site, they found Shanann's body buried in a shallow grave. Nearby, the oil tanks, where the girls were discovered, their small blankets still inside. It was a discovery that broke not only a community, but a nation. At his sentencing, the courtroom fell into heavy silence. Chris stood emotionless as the judge read his punishment. 5 life sentences without parole, plus decades more for the lives he destroyed. The words were cold, the justice, absolute, but nothing could undo what he had done. Even today, years later, the house in Frederick stands as a quiet ghost of what once was. Neighbors still drive past slowly. Some leave flowers. Others just look away. Because once you know what happened there, it's impossible to unsee it. If the story stayed with you, share it. Sometimes, the only way we honor victims is by keeping their names alive, by never letting the world forget what happened. In the end, the Chris Watts case isn't just about murder. It's about deception, control, and the terrifying truth that sometimes the monster doesn't come from outside, it sleeps beside you. And as you think about Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and baby Nico, remember this: behind every perfect photo, behind every smiling post, there can be cracks we don't see, and darkness we can't imagine. Do we ever really know the people we love, or just the version they let us see? This is True Crime Log, where every story is a reminder that behind every perfect life, there might be something dark waiting to be found. Like, share, and subscribe, and join us next time as we uncover the truth hidden behind the ordinary.